Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is homespun nanny, Bobby, whatever you want to call me, okay? I am absolutely amazed, literally amazed at the drama and the back and forth. She said this and she said that, and I have, witnesses and I have confirmation, and this has been said offline. And first of all, if something is said offline, I don't perceive. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm getting in the middle of the mess, but my husband was right on target the other day. He says, honey, he says, he said, if something's going on, he says, and it's right where you can hear it or you can see it, you're going to go out there and try to figure out what's happening and see if you can help or get in the way. It's going to be one of the two. You're either going to help the situation or you're going to get in the way of the situation. And if I can help, that's great, because that's what I believe in doing. But if I get in the way, somebody's going to let me know real quick. Get out the way. You're not helping, okay? And so, listening to these so-called newbies, first of all, discrediting someone because they've not been online making YouTube videos for very long does not mean that they are, that their voice, their experience, and their judgment call is to be questioned or treated as frivolous information. And, oh, what do you know? You're not experienced. You don't know anything. That's not a very mature approach to take. You can learn a lot. A matter of fact, if you take a child, and talking about children, I'm going to get into that, you can watch children between the ages of, say 9 months all the way up to school age. All right? That innocency and the transparency and the realism that they display, and their methods and their little personalities. They have a lot of wisdom, but they're not that old. I mean, a 1 year old is not 1 year's old, but 1 year old. You watch them interact with each other. Look how they solve problems. Listen to what they say. They are full of wisdom. But I'm going to discredit them because they're only one. How dare they try to interpret life when they're only one? How dare them try to display their opinion and share their opinion because they're only 5? Let me tell you something. I've worked in daycare for over 10 years. Plus, I'm a nanny. I've been around the block a couple times with kids. I'm not saying I'm an authority on it. I'm not a professional. But life experience dictates to me that children are full of wisdom that comes from God, comes from heaven, comes from a higher power, comes from clarity, innocency, angelic, magic, whatever you want to call it. Okay? But does that discredit their little opinions and their little thought processes and the little things that they do that just literally blow your mind? I mean, these kids today are like, they're magic. I'm telling you, they're little fairies without wings. something in the vitamins that the mamas take when they're pregnant is magical. I'm going to tell you. I have had my grandchildren say things to me that literally floored me. And at the moment, I'm just trying to think the other day about something that my two grandbabies said. And it was quite interesting. It had something to do with Walmart. Walmart has this thing that kids just, you know. I remember one time one of my grandkids, when there was some situations going on with my son and his wife, and, I'm not going to mention names, but they were having issues, and my little redheaded granddaughter said, Nanny, she said, we're so poor. She said, we don't even have a mommy. I about hit the floor. Well, in her eyes, And she says, can we go to Walmart and buy a mommy? And, of course, this was years and years and years ago. She's grown. She's a teenager now. She's actually dating somebody. She's a big girl. She drives. So all of this happened a long time ago. It's all forgotten and forgiven. But what I'm saying is children say things that just... But does that discredit the wonder, the magic, and the transparency that they share with us as adults? Somehow we lose that. But going into children and going into lack of experience and lack of life and lack of, exposure, does that discredit? Is it because Belle's Reborn Nursery and Sam's Reborn Nursery, they've not been online very long doing videos, that we should discredit them? I beg to differ with y'all on that. Whoever you may be that supports the blogger thing that's going on, this war, this outrageous, ridiculous war. This poop pot that keeps being stirred and stirred and stirred is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm not saying Sam's Reborn and Belle's Reborn are totally responsible for all of this. In my opinion, they are putting out a plea to let's stop this nonsense. Stop this ridiculousness. Stop. Get a life. But this other person, and I've listened to both sides, acutely listened and tried to understand. I'm not totally involved, but you know what? I am involved because I care about the community. And I'm a newbie. Hello. I haven't been collecting reborns for very long, and I have never made a reborn. I've never painted a reborn. I want to one day, but does that discredit me as an individual and as a person because I haven't been on YouTube very long? I mean, come on, people, get real here. So that dispels to me, this accusation or this thought process that says, well, these new girls, they think there's something else now because they be talking all this, like their experience, and they've been around the block and they know all about, and they're new and they're this and they're that. They are not to be discredited because they haven't been on YouTube for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 years, and discredited because they've only been online for like 4 or 5 months, and their popularity is growing with each new day. Oh Lordy, I got so much I want to say. I don't feel, going back to children, that a mother and a mother's best friend would drag a child through the gutter, okay, and dangle them as bait, as an incentive to draw sympathy and money. I'm sorry. I am certain that Sam is responsible. She has let it be known that her responsibilities are varied, and she has no time to be messing around, dragging her kid like a worm on a hook trying to bait reborn blogger. Really? Come on. No decent mother, as reborn blogger said, would do that. But here's the thing. I don't believe, in my opinion, okay, this is me. This is me. I don't believe, from what I have heard and from what I've seen, that Sam's Reborn Nursery would stoop to that level. I'm sorry, I question Reborn Blogger's accusation that she's dangling her child like bait. I'm sorry, I don't. If you get rid of all the ums and get rid of all the interruptions within her sentences, Reborn Blogger, I'm talking to you. You're going to call out names. I'm going to call your name out. I feel sorry for you. I feel so sorry for you. You have so much that you could offer, so much. By talent and friendship and just your life experience going through your health issues, whatever it may be. Girl, get out of the dark side and get into the light. Come on now. This is redonkulous, as they say. Redonkulous. This is wreaking havoc. And now I've done lost my train of thought. But the ums and the he said and she said and all the constant breakup of your sentences, Reborn Blogger, that leave me wondering, what did she just say? I have to go back and replay what you said because I can't grasp any clarity. But if you get rid of all of that extra stuff, when you're in speech classes, you learn how to not say and you know what I mean, and and maybe, and and all those little terms that are extra that don't need to be there. Okay, if you take all of that and just merge your normal sentences together, the accusations and the insults are so prominent, so prominent. Child abuse? I don't think so. One of the things that was mentioned some time back about, when you were a kid, you'd go visit somebody's house and go play. And my mom was not very, she wasn't a very decent sort of person in a lot of ways. And she would say, well, was their house clean? Did they have a clean house? How did their house look? Well, somebody made the remark about Belle's Reborn Nursery's home. Like she's a clutterbug, or she was dirty, or her house wasn't clean, or it wasn't up to standard or something. That's rude, because she took the time. Belle's Reborn Nursery took the time. Look at this ugly face right here. You see this? You see this face? Okay, I'm not pretty to look at, but I still have a heart. I have feelings, okay? And Sam, or not Sam, I'm sorry, excuse me, Belle's Reborn invited the public into her home. Okay, her first video that she did, if I'm not mistaken, she was so excited. She was like a kid in a candy store, and she just was so anxious to share a small piece of her life. She talked about reborns and all of that stuff, but yet she also talked about other little things. And she invited us into her home, and we as guests into her life, into her corner of the world, have no right to criticize her housekeeping skills or whatever the heck. I didn't see anything, in my opinion, that was what I would consider a messy whatever. I don't know. I mean, I would never go to someone's house and scrutinize their cleaning ability. That's not my place. They live there. I don't know. I think that people are just itching or scratching at an itch that's not there. Just trying to create problems. And I've been listening to Reborn Blogger. I've been listening to different ones. I've been listening to Sam. I've been listening to Bells. And honest to goodness, the sincerity level with Sam and Belle, so what if they are looking at notes? Does your video merit an A+ because you're being spontaneous? Because you're speaking off the cuff? It's obvious that you're speaking off the cuff because there's too many ums and you knows and all of that in there. And when you put it all together, it hardly doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Sam speaks eloquently. She's got a beautiful vocabulary. Belle's Reborn doesn't have quite the exquisite touch that Sam has. But Belle is, I love her incentive. I love her drive. I love that she's trying to make things fun and interesting. I mean, I can say a lot of good things about Belle, and I can say a lot of good things about Sam. But when you make a video and you don't even show your face and you don't even, you have enough guts and you keep talking about how you wish that this could stop. And I know I said this was going to be my last video on this subject. But I just had to get back on here and say something about it. I just had to get back on here. So if you take that 20-minute video that I'm looking at a blank screen, I can't see your facial features, I can't see your eyes, I can't see the clarity, I can't tell if you're, are you being truthful or what you're doing. And you're just going on and on and on. And if I could just snatch out all the unnecessary things that you're saying, like the ums, and putting it all together, it's all negative energy. And it's going to come back and haunt you, girl. And you know what? Put me on your radar. I don't care. But being in the situation that Sam is in, okay, now I've been listening to her, and when she came on the other day and made a plea, and you mocked her injury, you mocked her pain, you mocked her concern. And let me just say this. I'm not saying that everything that Sam and Bells is saying and doing is correct. But to the best of their ability, they are trying desperately to eliminate this issue. Okay? Now, I will say this to you, Sam. When you went online, I could tell the minute I heard your voice, I said, this girl is stressed to the max. And I'm thinking to myself, this other person who is causing this is just happy and applauding and dancing around the fire, getting a big old kick out of the fact that she's really getting to Sam. Really, really getting to Sam. And I think that you relish that, Reborn Blogger. Don't you have a heart? Don't you care what God thinks? Don't you care what karma thinks? Don't you care what the higher powers that be thinks? Do you feel like that the repercussions of this is going to be good for you? And the thing is, Sam, there's no way she's going to dangle her daughter. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. And Belle and Sam, they're best friends. What do you expect? They're going to stick up for each other, just like your other little minion over there is sticking up for you. Actually, you have two of them that are really sticking to you in your hip pocket. And it's so sad. It doesn't have to be that way. Where's all this hatred coming from? What is the real issue here? Is it jealousy? Because they're growing? Is it, what is it? If you can identify that and be honest, maybe the problem could be resolved here. But Sam, going back to you, I was going to say, when you went on live and you were talking about how you were going to go to the authorities, And you mentioned, your limited funds and all this stuff, and, talking about the restraining order and all that. You know what? I would have never revealed any of that online. And I love you to pieces, and I'm going to tell you why, baby. I'm going to tell you why. Listen to your mama. Listen to your mama. Okay? By sharing all of that prior to following through, prior to setting in motion, the authorities, setting in motion. I hope y'all can hear me above all that noise. Prior to getting a restraining order, all of that jazz, all of that did not need to come out of the bag, because that's just going to be a grand opportunity for the other individual to counteract. That is why this person is going online and saying, I would never involve a child. I would never threaten a child. I consider that to be child abuse. I consider that to be at the same level of feigning that you have cancer and you really don't, and you go online and you beg for funds, or you want people to feel sorry for you. She's saying all of that to cover up and to camouflage the true intent. Because literally and legally, she knows there is going to be some repercussion. Because there are going to be people out there that, regardless of what she says about you begging for money and using your child as bait, they're going to take pity on the situation. And like I wrote before, there are thousands of women out there who are highly educated, but yet sympathetic to the cause, and some female or male, lawyer is going to take this situation to heart and carry this through. And it's a scary thought. It really is a scary thought. This computer stuff and YouTube and all of this jazz, there's still a conglomeration of issues that are being dealt with, from cyber stalking to bullying to you name it. It's all still kind of sort of new territory, even though we consider ourselves to be progressive and modern and 2019, 2020 and all that jazz. There's still a lot of nuances and wrinkles that have not yet been focused on, and laws and consequences of the law set in motion. We're still groping. We're still dealing with things. And of course, with each state, they have to come to terms with how they're going to handle, certain situations. What applies in North Carolina is not going to apply in Tennessee. But we're working on these things, and it does take time, unfortunately. So something like this situation that's totally out of hand, I don't know where you're from, Reborn blogger. I don't know all the nuances, but all of this is ridiculous. The name calling and Hitler and the nasties and Nazi and mocking people's pain and mocking their concerns. And I mean, it just, none of it makes sense to me. And my heart goes out to Sam and to Belle, but it also goes out to you, Reborn blogger. Why can't this be put behind you? Why can't you just come to terms that you're never going to, you may never agree on everything. You may never, come to terms. Just let it go. Life is too short. You, of all people, ought to recognize, Reborn blogger, in your health condition. Bless your sweet, sweet heart. Don't let this consume your life. Don't let it consume your life. That is a very dark place to be. Stop the nonsense. Just drop it. You know, in a marriage, you know, I'm wrong sometimes and I'm right sometimes. But, you know, there are times when I'm right. But I don't want to have to emphasize that, well, I'm in the right and you're in the wrong and la 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 la. And I'm not going to give in until you admit that I'm right. There are times when it's not so easy. Sometimes you just have to compromise and agree to disagree without being ugly. Okay? I've always said, if I said to you, Bells, Reborn, Sam, or I said to you, Reborn Blogger, you know, honey, every time I look at your face, time just stands still. I just gave you a compliment. But if I said to you, your face could stop a clock, I just insulted you, but I just said the same thing. So quite often, it's how we communicate and how we perceive that makes all the difference in the world. And I just wish all of this could stop. I don't hate anybody in this situation, but I'm telling you, my heart went out to Sam. And it's not because her voice was quivering and because she was so distraught, which was so obvious that she was. And let me say this about the reading thing. I've already pointed this out before. Let me have a hit of this caffeine here. Just because notes are being used to communicate the finer points of the video does not discredit the value of those words or those things that are being said. Everybody uses notes. Everybody. Especially people who are consumed with a given subject and they want to make sure they get the point across clearly and adequately. Okay? Stop cutting down and slicing into little tiny pieces every little thing that is being said and done. Just stop. Just stop it. Don't do ultimatums. Don't say, well, if you do this, I'll do that. That is so immature. Totally immature. Juvenile. Elementary. We're grown women now. It's time to grow up. It's time to act grown up. It's time to lay aside the trivialities and get on with the business of life and enjoy life. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted, please. All right? Just my piece. I'm sorry, but I've just been so disturbed. I couldn't even sleep last night, and it ain't even involving me. I couldn't even sleep. I went to sleep about 3:30 last night, thinking about all this mess. It's crazy. But whatever. I mean, if I'm in the wrong, correct me. I stand to be corrected, and I'll take criticism with a grain of salt. I really will. But I really, really feel like Reborn Blogger needs to stop. Just stop. It's so simple. All right? Y'all have a good day. Bye.